Purdy takes the snap, another toss play to McCaffrey, gets to the edge on the left side, block from Juszczyk, gets to the 5, still on his feet, into the end zone. Touchdown, 49ers.
What a beautiful play, and that was vintage San Francisco clinic blocking.
Yes, it was vintage Christian McCaffrey. All night long, at least when his quarterback wasn't throwing the ball away, the 49ers steamrolled the Panthers 20-9 on Monday Night Football. That was one of, let's count them up, 24 carries, 7 catches, 31 touches for over 140 yards from scrimmage for Christian McCaffrey, who gets it done each and every week, as does Nick Shook, as does Justin Allegri, by the way, on KNBR. Thank you for that. 49ers cruise, Shookie. And I'll start with this. Big picture. I'm not going to drill down on the McCaffrey of it all. Let's talk big picture. How dangerous do you think this 49ers team is at 8-4 with games against the Titans and Browns up next and a bye? They are very likely to be sitting 10-4 in mid-December, entering a tough final slate. How dangerous do you think this 49ers team is?
I mean, very dangerous, because they're most likely going to show up as a wild card team. They're going to be a wild card team that's going to be able to take down a lesser division winner, which is the first step in improving your dangerousness to the rest of the league. It's also a team that has proven to be a great case study in how giving yourself a good backup quarterback and organizational cohesiveness can lead you through the fire. Like, they have had enough injuries to derail their season. They've had previous seasons get derailed by injuries. This team, no. Yes, you lose Fred Warner. Guess what? You gave up 9 points to the Carolina Panthers tonight. You completely shut down their offense. Yes, you lost Brock Purdy for a long time. You had Mac Jones to step in. And the unifying factor to all of this, and I'm a little concerned about this because I just looked at his total touches going into tonight, is Christian McCaffrey. It's kind of absurd, the amount of times he's touched the football this year. Like, mental math, which I'm not very good at, so forgive me, but I believe he came into the game tonight with 267 total touches and added another, 32 tonight? What does that put us at, 299? Oh, my God.
Yeah, I think it was 31, so that is insane. He's almost over 300 touches. People are like, oh, well, you got to try to... It's like... That's what we heard about Saquon Barkley, by the way, all offseason. Oh, the total touches, he'll be fine. And now you look, and I don't think it's a coincidence, Saquon Barkley is having
they're here. The
worst
Niners are here.
year of his career. But they're here. And that's kind of the long-term view. I got to say, McCaffrey, I think, has looked better as this season has worn on. So you definitely don't see it affecting him on the field tonight. Yeah, he actually had his longest run, I believe, of the season. No, he had a 17-yard run in the second half and a 19-yard catch. He did have a 20-yarder last week, but at least they're getting close to explosive plays. That actually counts as an explosive. And here's another thing they're good enough to overcome. Their quarterback throwing 3 interceptions in the first half, and I couldn't have been the only person that was thinking back about the Mac Jones-Brock Purdy scale. And I was saying, Mac Jones climbed higher than I expected on the Kyle Shanahan quarterback scale. I think he passed Jimmy G, and he's definitely below Brock Purdy. But tonight, Mac Jones, I don't think would have been throwing those picks. It is a little bit of a concern in the short term. I'm not concerned about Brock Purdy in the long term, but it's now 2 games. And if you went back and watched that performance last week, the ball just kind of came out funny, I thought, last week. It didn't look great, and he had 2 throws in that game that probably could have or should have been intercepted. And in this game, especially early, he had the 3 picks, and then after that, he almost threw a couple more at the end of the second quarter. You're thinking, what is going on here? As long as he wasn't throwing the ball in harm's way, this offense looked awesome tonight. Long drives and everything. What is your concern level of where Purdy is at?
I mean, some of it feels like it's maybe rust because he just hasn't been on the field in so long. And then you also think about how much is they gave him a considerable amount of time to come back from the toe issue, but it wasn't the only ailment he was dealing with, at least earlier in the season. What I see is a ball that has too much air under it consistently. It doesn't come out with the same zip as it did, I don't know, maybe last season or early this season, which makes me think that's foot related, as if he's not, using his legs enough in his throwing motion. Like, the first pick in the end zone left too much air under it and it ends up short. Second one, kind of the same situation, a little bit late on that throw. And then the third one was a great play by JC Horn. But that's 3 series in a row where you're turning the ball over via interception. A better team makes you pay for that, and you maybe lose this game. And it's not to, rain on the 49ers parade for winning on Monday Night Football, but if you're going to be as good as possible, your quarterback has to be a big part of that. You have paid him a lot of money. You have built a lot of your identity offensively around him. It is a testament to Kyle Shanahan that you can acknowledge that maybe we don't need him or want him to carry us to victory, and we're just going to lean on Christian McCaffrey, and we're going to become a bow constrictor offense. We're going to march down the field in 10-plus plays in 3 of our 4 scoring drives. We're going to take up at least 6.5 minutes in 3 of those 4 scoring drives, and the one that didn't is because they had great field position after a takeaway. And that's fine. Like, that you control time of possession on the road, and in the playoffs, you're going to win football games, provided your quarterback doesn't give away the football too much. So level of concern pretty high, but he does have enough runway to iron it out, and I think a lot of it is still due to rust.
Yeah, a great comment in the chat. Thank you to everyone who's joining us live on YouTube. And obviously, thank you to everyone that's checking out NFL Daily in your feed. We love you. We got a full week of shows here in Thanksgiving week. And look, like those 3 interceptions, they were bad throws. He only had 9 incompletions. So I would say of those 9 incompletions, like the Panthers got their hands on about 6 or 7 of them. I could go check the box score in terms of passes defense. The rest of them, like he made the right decisions for the most part. Even the decision on the interception to Pearsall, for instance, in the end zone where he steps up and he passes up a couple open receivers underneath. I don't even hate the decision. Neither did Troy Aikman, but I thought the same thing where it's like, yeah, Pearsall had him one-on-one. And if he had a better ball location, like I like Pearsall's chance with a little bit of leverage and his athleticism of making a play on the ball. And it's just the ball's not going where he wants it to go. So that's a concern. Sometimes the schedule gods help you out. And this is not a good Panthers defense. And they definitely got a lot worse when J.C. Horn, who had 2 interceptions in this game. It was nice to see one of the star young Panthers players show up early. I mean, he was in Brock Purdy's head. He got his hands on another ball early. You pointed out on Twitter, he looked great, and then he goes for a concussion test. And if it wasn't for that, man, like the Panthers defense just couldn't get off the field. They are not a serious defense. I think it's a reminder. We're talking about the 49ers as like, okay, their defense, Shook, probably is not going to hold up in a playoff setting, at least not against like Seattle or LA if they had to play them. I think that'd be pretty dangerous in most other games. But it's nothing like the Panthers defense. Like there's still, even if there's not necessarily that much more talent, and there's probably a little more talent still in San Francisco, they're just better coached, and especially playing at home. Like they played with their hair on fire, and I know the Panthers offense has looked like that on a lot of nights in this season, but they've had their good games too, including last week. And the 49ers defense plays with a level of aggression, and they're well coached. It was impressive to watch.
That's the key. They're well coached, and they're able. I mean, because I think they made it really difficult for Bryce Young to do anything tonight. Now, Bryce Young had his share of mistakes. He had his interceptions that he threw too. And the first one that he threw in the end zone was a gift to the 49ers after they'd given them the ball at the Niners 16. It was a late throw. It was it was probably a full second late. It was a bad decision being thrown into traffic, and it was delivered with a casual nature that's typical of like an end of half Hail Mary, not a play where you're rolling out on the goal line and when you could potentially run it in. And I think that's what started the downfall of this offense throughout the rest of the night, because outside of the red zone opportunities, Bryce Young just looked like he was never really confident. And that is a testament to this Niners defense. Despite all the players that they've lost, they still have guys in there making plays. And the most important thing, like you said, they're well coached. They're disciplined. No matter who's in there. Maybe you don't have the elite athlete like a Fred Warner, but you got guys who are going to consistently get their job done within every play. And that's going to make it tough for an offense with the ceiling that is really only raised by a big Rico Dowdle rushing game. Like, it's going to make it tough for that offense to move the ball if they can't run the ball, which has been the Panthers' story all year.
Can we get a little more Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard in this game? What's going on?
Like if he gets a carry for 2 yards and a carry for 3 yards, they're just like, we're just not going to run the ball for the next 10 minutes. It's frustrating.
Here's the thing, though. Like, Rico Dowdle went 6 for 38 tonight. Chuba Hubbard went 3 for 16. They only had 9 runs, and so I see their design success rate. You know it's a bad night for your design success rate, which is one of my favorite stats. When I can tell, like, oh, they were 4 for 9. Like, that was their design success rate. Because they only ran the ball 9 times. Like, that's 4 for 9. Like, that's crazy. Bryce Young ran it 4 other times, but those were scrambles. So they dropped back to pass 36 times. And there were there were just a lot of not ready for primetime moments. Like literally, this Panthers team, when was the last time they were in a real primetime game? They had so many different moments that they just felt not ready. I think you picked the most important one, which is that first Bryce Young interception after they get the short field after their turnover. I mean, the game was just drunk early with those Brock Purdy interceptions, and Christian McCaffrey tried to fumble it at one point, but the Panthers couldn't fall on the ball. What was your favorite Panthers not ready for primetime moment? Putting you on the spot.
That's a great one. This is early, but I think it hurt their offensive momentum. Ted McMillan dropping a wide open third down pass.
That was one.
That was one of them right there. Like that killed that drive. There was a scenario early in this game, I think, where the Panthers faced 4th and 3, and Canales had them rush up to the line, bit of a muddle huddle, and then immediately was like, nope, punt. Like they didn't come with the aggression that you need to win a game on the road like that. Like
that's what I'm talking about, Shooky.
Gutless punt.
We're on the same wavelength. I wrote down a few not ready for primetime moments. And that was like two of the 5 I wrote down. Like,
hell yeah.
Canales losing a little love, a little like chutzpah. It's like they've been going for those 4th downs all year, which I've appreciated, and they've been a better offense than what they showed tonight, and they punted there. You mentioned McMillan, and Jordan was texting with me tonight, and she was just pointing out like he just wasn't physical enough tonight. He was getting bodied around a couple times, which is too bad to see because I think he's had an incredible year, and he did make some catches later, but it was not a great night for him.
Well, I would like to quote Jared Allen here and say that I think the lights were too bright.
It did kind of feel like that for them as a team. Then again, I've seen them play some pretty terrible games at 10 a.m. Pacific this year too. That's the thing with this Panthers team, why even though they came into this game 6-5, it was hard to really take them too seriously. Not only the underlying like DVOA and all those sort of numbers, but in 4 of those 5 losses, they've just looked horrible. And they've looked like tonight where they're not competitive offensively. Xavier Legette had his kind of one brain fart of the game where he went out of bounds late and then didn't reestablish himself, just completely lost where he was. And then I hate it when a team makes the extra point, but there's a penalty on it. Shout out to JJ Jansen getting a little
yes
primetime love.
Go
okay.
Off.
He was a host, by the way, of NFL Daily over the summer. That was a great episode with Jordan. And so they make the extra point, and then they move the ball from the 2 to the 1, and they're like, oh, we got to go for it now. That 1 yard made such a difference. And I'm thinking, okay, does it really make that much of a difference? And the answer is absolutely not if you throw the ball. Troy Aikman made the same rant that I was all ready to make. I had written it down. I'm like, what's the difference of throwing the ball at the 1 or the 2? And also, why are you confident in Bryce Young in that situation? He had no one open to throw to. Just why?
Every moment in which they had a chance to build momentum, they took it away from themselves. And that was one of them. And yes, I don't care what you think about momentum, because in a game like this, you need a little bit on your side, especially to mount a comeback in the 4th quarter.
Points!
You just had your best scoring drive of the night. Your only touchdown drive of the night. You had a great ball to Ted McMillan in the back of the end zone. And what do? You get greedy. Just take the extra point. Make it 10 points. At that point, I think they were only down by 7. Take that. It's fine. The 1 yard closer, and you're not going to run the football. It doesn't matter. And what I also hate is that when you are down by that margin, and this is so pervasive in the NFL, and analytics says you should do this, but in my opinion, why would you go for 2? And the thought is, well, if you go for 2 the first time, then you know what you need the second time. I don't care if you know what you need the second time, because I know what I need the second time. 2 extra points to tie the game. Because if I don't get the 2-point conversion the first time, I have to get the 2-point conversion the second time to tie it. Obviously, they were never in a position to do that. But had they encountered that, had they lost by that narrow margin, you can go right back to that first decision, which is why I think it's dumb every time. Greed does not pay off in this game.
Okay, let's actually listen to that touchdown throw so we can see something positive out of the Panthers and Bryce Young.
Bryce in the gun. Hubbard has been in all drive. Young in the pocket. Throws deep downfield. Has a man open. Caught by McMillan. The California connection. Bryce Young to Teteroa McMillan. A 29-yard touchdown. And it's a one-score game. 17-9 with 49 seconds to go in the third.
You hear that 17-9 as in, oh, they got a chance to get back into it. They look kind of good there. Yeah, till you missed the 2-point conversion. You're right back to where you were before.
You know, that decision didn't cost them the game, but it was just annoying. I also didn't like them trying a 57-yarder at the very end of the game instead of just going for a 4th and 8, like, because they were trying to cut it to 8 from 57 yards out. Like, that's some sort of automatic. And maybe I'm just judging the result. I love the comment here. I assume it's from a Panthers fan who says his son is out of his mind worried about having a too short king for years. Now, as a too short king, like, it's a fine way to be in the world. There are a lot of advantages on planes. It's just way more comfortable. We have a too short family here. We're all very happy. I think we're a good looking family. We all get along. Keeps you humble. But to play quarterback in the NFL, I do think it's a little bit of a negative, and I don't think he's making up for it.
Although putting too short in quotes just makes me think of the rapper Too Short, Bay Area legend. Yeah, appropriate for tonight.
And yeah, thank you to the viewer who's saying I'm a perfectly short king. Okay, let's move on quick soon, and we are going to give a little love to one of the members of the 49ers. Yes, it is time for Who Delivered, presented by Uber Eats, and I think the winner tonight has to be George Kittle, just because we haven't given him any love. 6 catches for 78 yards. I also noticed him having some like flashy blocks in this game. It was almost like look at me blocks, which I love, like him getting on the ground, getting dirty, and he's looked more explosive over the last couple of weeks, and he has been absolutely great and is going to be crucial. I do think this offense, I think there's a path to win a playoff game against a team like the Packers or the Lions, or a team that like has had enough offensive problems that you don't think, or the Eagles, that you don't think they'll necessarily fully punish what this defense is all about. And the reason I think there's a path, Shook, is that I do think by the time the playoffs hit, Brock Purdy could be playing better. And with Kittle and Jennings and Pearsall, who was pretty quiet tonight, and McCaffrey, even Brian Robinson as a backup, you got Juszczyk out there, like, they could put up 35 in any game. And with their coaching staff, like, I just think they have a chance to put a scare into someone, or win a playoff game or two, which to me would be like a massively successful season. 2 would be a little shocking, but even making the playoffs for this team, to me, will be an accomplishment. And I do think they will get there.
You'd have to catch fire to win 2 playoff games. That would definitely exceed my expectation for them. But I do think that Kittle being Who Delivered tonight is a great choice for multiple reasons. One, the most important one being, while we spend all this time focusing on Christian McCaffrey, I actually think it's George Kittle that unlocks this offense. And it's because of his rapport with Brock Purdy, and it's also because of the way that he just kind of levels out their passing game, because he's such a good blocker, but he's also a great, threat in the passing game. He can make, very athletic plays. He can serve as a reliable target that Brock Purdy has an extended rapport with. All of that can kind of come together, open up everything else for your receivers around you as you get Pearsall back from injury. He played tonight, and you got Jennings and everything else. I just think, like, you take Kittle out of the mix, that offense goes down a few notches, whereas with him involved, you're at a much higher ceiling. And then you can kind of use everybody else that you just listed. And I also think that what we saw tonight could be the formula for the 49ers winning a playoff game, is by establishing just ball control, possession-focused offense with a few splash plays to a guy like George Kittle. Maybe you throw one up to Ricky Pearsall and he makes a play. But Kittle's got to be the focus of your offense. Even if it's not like blatantly the focus of your offense, internally on the sideline, you got to be thinking all the time, how are we going to get Kittle involved in this play? How are we going to turn to him to make a difference? Because I think that's where their offense elevates the most.
Yeah, and I think their offensive line has played pretty well this year. I think it's grown into form. It's like there's just something about these Shanahan teams. You always think the talent on the offensive line isn't enough, and then you get to Thanksgiving, and like it's enough. They're playing well. And you look at the backfield in terms of the defense, no matter who the coordinator's been there, and you're like, I don't know if they have enough players back there. Like, they're a little smaller. They're mid to late round picks. I don't know if they're good enough. And then you get to the end of the season and they're playing pretty good ball. And I think this has been an impressive season. And I see a note that their schedule's not that easy. I beg to differ. They have a perfect schedule. I mean, they have 2 games where they'll be heavily favored, the Browns and the Titans. The Browns are, frisky enough that their defense can keep them in any game, but those are games they should win. That gets them to 10 wins. That might be enough right there. The other 3 games has the Colts, the Bears, and the Seahawks. which none of those are easy games. But look, you want to find out where you are. 3 straight is tough, but Colts and Bears are games that I don't think they're like heavy underdogs, if they're underdogs in those games at all. I don't necessarily think they are. The Bears games at home. And the Seahawks, like I said, and the Rams, I think are going to be tough for this team. I think they're a class apart. But that to me, if you win one of those 3 games, you're at 11 wins and you're a 6 or a 7 seed. And if you win 2 of those games, like you're pretty frisky, pretty dangerous.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if they only have one method of success offensively. And I'm saying this while knowing what they did in Arizona last week, which was kind of not a fluky game, but a weird game because it was just very much splash plays and not much else in between. In that, like, the formula we saw tonight is their best chance of victory, and that maybe the only way they beat a team like Seattle. I think Chicago doesn't present as much of a threat for them and leans more toward their favor, but maybe the same is true for Indianapolis. This next game, though, and it's not because I live in Cleveland, but I know that Browns defense is a test for every offense they face. It's also, I looked up the weather. Sunday, high of 40, low of 34, morning snow showers. The last time the Niners ran into inclement weather, Jake Moody missed a game-winning field goal. So he's obviously not on the team anymore, but I think it is going to be an interesting test of Brock Purdy coming off of a 3-interception performance. Can they get on the right track against a defense that's caused a lot of problems for a lot of opponents?
I think the pressure is ratcheted up on Purdy this week. I'm not sounding the alarm bells because I spent a lot of the offseason actually backing up Brock Purdy, saying why some of the things he does is next level in terms of his anticipation, the way he sees the field. He's just physically not performing well enough right now, but I think he can get there. So I've had fun talking up Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones played really well for a backup quarterback. I think they need Brock Purdy, as Jordan's pointed out, to unlock this entire offense to play at their very best. So I don't think that's going to be, a talking point unless he has another one of these. And frankly, playing the Browns is a recipe for that to happen. Then you start to just be a little concerned, but they're not going to bench him anytime soon, and they shouldn't. And we're talking about the Panthers as if like they're not in the playoff mix. They're still only half a game back of the Bucs, who are similarly having their own sets of issues. The Panthers have the Rams this week, then a bye, and then the Saints. That's as big an underdog as you'll ever be against the Rams, and as big of a favorite as you'll ever be against the Saints. And you never know what could happen, but they're likely 7-6, and they wrap up with 2 games against the Bucs in their final 3 weeks, and the Seahawks sandwiched in between. So it's all in front of them. They could surprise us. I don't expect them to make it happen. You know what I mean, Shooky?
It's possible.
But you got 2 games against the Bucs. Like as they like to say, they control their own destiny.
I will say this postseason is going to be the closing argument for the proposal that was floated at the owners' meeting in the offseason, which is reseeding the playoffs based on record and not on division title. Because we are looking at a reality in which the South is going to produce a gross division title winner. And we're also looking at a reality in which the North in the AFC side could produce a gross division title winner. And a team like Buffalo or a team like the Chargers or the Chiefs are going to end up on the road against one of these division winners, and it's going to be lopsided, and they're going to wonder why they got the home game in the first place.
Question asking, is the NFC South the worst division in NFL history?
No.
I don't know if you mean historically, because how dare you?
NFC West 7-9.
It's been a lot of fun. AFC South has had plenty, but there's been way worse NFC South years just in the last decade. There was a Panthers year where they got in at 7-9. There was a Buccaneers year where they got in, I believe, either with a losing record or 500 record under Todd Bowles. So very recently, it has been much worse. And I think the Bucs have a pretty high upside. Another comment that if Teddy Two Gloves is the QB, anyone can beat the Bucs. And while I agree with that, they're already saying Baker Mayfield has a chance to play this week. I'll put a pin in that because we're going to talk some news and, just show up next time a little more ready to play Carolina Panthers. By the way, that was Who Delivered, presented by Uber Eats. Thank you, George Kittle. When football makes you hungry, get game day deals on Uber Eats, the official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now. Okay, let's just fire through news in like 5 minutes here because we have a lot to get to. we're going to get to a new segment that we're debuting called Quarterback Keeper, where Shook's going to give us a little window, into his mind of how he's putting together QB Index this week. But we did get some news. It's Monday, Shook, so the Giants have fired someone. That's just what we do every Monday, right?
Well, I mean, the Raiders didn't even wait till Monday to fire Chip Kelly, so.
It's like, okay, they threw Daboll off the boat, and now they've thrown Shane Bowen out, the defensive coordinator, after another just blown lead. I kind of forgot that Shane Bowen was there, but I was just like, oh yeah, this makes sense. Why didn't you do it when you fired Brian Daboll in the first place if you're going to do it now?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense why you forgot he was there, because once you remove a head coach, you just feel like the whole staff's gone, because they basically are gone by the end of the season. It's a Giants defense that I actually believe has more talent than we realize, at least in the front seven, and just doesn't perform up to standard. Now, they make games difficult for opposing offenses. I mean, the week prior, they pushed the Packers to the limit, but it has been inconsistent. And I think in a game like that, the Giants are in like machete mode, like the organization is, where they're like, Joe Shane is safe. He is our fearless leader, and he's been empowered with the largest machete you'll see. And he's going to cut in any direction he deems proper if we continue to fail. And for a team like the Giants, who comes so close to winning so many games and yet has not won in their last 6, somebody must pay for our latest loss. And I think this time it was Shane Bowen. They're going to get a whole new staff. I mean,
or are they? I don't know, Kafka. If he dials up another flea flicker with Jameis Winston catching, I don't know. Kafka's looked pretty good last couple of weeks. I'll say this: I feel like it's on the board because he does come from a different coaching tree. Because there was always sort of like it seemed like he didn't get along with Daboll. I'm just saying there's a path here. If the last 5 weeks go really well, in Jackson Dart, assuming he comes back for Monday Night Football next week, plays well down the stretch, they would have to light it up, and they'd have to not love the candidates. I'm just saying there's a path for Kafka. And you know what my theory is on this firing of Shane Bowen? They wanted the new coach bump for their new coordinator, Charlie Bullen, for their game against the Patriots. This is their Super Bowl. The Patriots are playing their worst right now. The Giants are frisky and playing quite well despite losing these games. That's their Super Bowl next Monday night. You're going to have me all depressed afterwards when the Giants win that game.
I wrote about the new coach bump, the interim coach bump. I don't know, when did we get our first firing this year? When did Brian Callahan get fired? Like week 5? And
sure.
And it's proven to be at 500 or worse over the last 20 years.
But it's proven to be
thing.
It is. Oh no! Shooky.
Oh
my naive.
Go find it. The numbers are there.
First of all, in terms of you're talking about the spread, and we can talk about that. In terms of that first week back, there's historic precedent. They do cover, historically. But the winning percentage does improve over time. I mean, it's nothing crazy. You improve from the average team is obviously so bad. But yes, that it's been shown that there is a market improvement.
And usually that's a product of a locker room that largely hated its coach. And I don't know if that's really the case here.
Yeah. Or it's just a product of the guys get fired off of terrible teams at the very bottom, and the averages will say over any sample size after that they're bound to improve a little bit, which it does happen. So we'll see. Other news: Joe Burrow expected to play on Thanksgiving night. Great news. Not a surprise. T. Higgins and Trey Hendrickson not expecting to play. We are going to preview all the Thanksgiving Day games on Tuesday, actually, with Colleen Wolfe and Steve Weish and Jordan. So really looking forward to that, but glad we can talk about Joe Burrow. Will Campbell, the Patriots offensive lineman, has a torn MCL, and their guard, Jared Wilson, has a high ankle sprain. Will Campbell, it's not believed to be a season-ending injury, according to Mike Vrabel. So considering there was one report last night that said they feared an ACL, that sounds like relatively good news. They might have him back for the playoffs. Same thing with Jared Wilson, who might be back even sooner than that.
Yeah.
We'll see. You're shaking your head.
Yeah, because Will Campbell wins with his feet. That's his strength. It's not length. It's not size. It's feet. And I'm thinking about somebody wearing a bulky knee brace because he has to, and a less than fully healthy knee maybe a little bit of hesitation knowing that that knee is injured. Luckily that they've already won 10 games. They have a little bit of like runway for him to feel as right as possible before he has to play again. But I think that it diminishes his overall potential to, just be a reliable blocker for this team. So while it's not season ending, and that's always good news, don't expect him to be quite at the level he was before.
Probably not going to be back for the 2-game swing they have against the Ravens and the Bills, which is really the key part of their remaining schedule. They will be heavy favorites in the rest of their games, including on Monday night. But I think they've shown like they are due to stub their toe in one of these games where they're heavily favored. They've been close to doing it so many times, and they keep winning these close games. But they are at 10-2. Got to respect it. Also got to respect the Vikings' decision to sit J.J. McCarthy this upcoming week. He is in the concussion protocol. It's not official that he is going to sit, but it seems pretty obvious, especially the way that he played. It wouldn't have been a total shock if they had sat him for performance reasons, but McCarthy reported concussion symptoms on the way back, which, everyone made their comments, and I see you going,
It's a trend.
I thought that too, and then I saw the back-to-back sequence of plays he had where he had his head absolutely slammed into the turf with 5 minutes left, and I thought, well, the second one looked pretty brutal, man.
Yeah, I will never discount or diminish somebody who is dealing with a head injury, having dealt with many of my own, and I understand that they can manifest in a number of different fashions. It's just a trend that he's had like 3 post-game injuries that have cost him time this season. It's a little bit of tinfoil hat there.
What about your head? How is it doing after all these brain injuries? Because it's a big one.
Honestly,
I don't think it's just that you shave your head. I think it's you're a big man. You got a big head.
My hat size 7 3/8. We're just a little bit at average or slightly above, Greg. I'm not an egghead over here. Okay, no, but I'm just kidding. Concussions can show up in any different way. I had a concussion one time where everything went like shell shock, like in a World War II film, where everything went black and white and my ears were just ringing, and it wasn't even a high impact. So they can show up. Just a bad headache. It can be any sort of thing that you maybe don't even feel in the moment. You feel later. I hope, he takes the time to get right. Obviously don't want to, like I said, diminish a head injury or anything. I'm just like, in a really weird year for him, both in performance and lack of availability.
Weird is a nice way to put it. Jaden Daniels also has had a weird year. He is unlikely to play this week, but it does sound like he will play again this season. He is going to start practicing according to their coach, Dan Quinn. So if he's practicing, he's probably only a week or 2 away from playing, but that's just my guess. Shedeur Sanders will start again this week, despite Dylan Gabriel clearing the concussion protocol. It seemed like an obvious choice, but it's nice to see that they're making it. And that not a bad matchup against the 49ers, which doesn't have much of a pass rush. By the way, the 49ers tonight, you want to know their combined sacks and QB hits in a game that Bryce Young couldn't get anything done? You want to guess off the top of your head? Don't look.
Let's say 5.
1, and it was a quarterback hit.
It was a sack. No, they had 1 sack.
Did they?
Yeah, 1 sack. That's why I said 5. I thought there might be
4 the official number, 3 quarterback hits, one.
That was close.
I take it back. NGS led me astray. Maybe did they all happen at the end? I apologize. I apologize to everyone who listened to all that.
How dare you?
And finally, in the news, Baker Mayfield has a chance to start this week. He has a left shoulder sprain. Also, Todd Bowles expects Bucky Irving to return, but we'll update all that during the week. And we're going to do a segment, Shook, on Thursdays moving forward called Quarterback Keeper. And yes, it is time for Quarterback Keeper presented by Snapdragon. And normally we'll kind of get into your quarterback rankings that you do every week, QB Index, and talk about why you're making the rankings, what it is. There's no Thursday this week, so we're doing it on Monday. We're not going to be doing a show on Thursday night this week. And I thought for the first one, I just wanted to hear, based on your tape study, so everyone should know Shook's process after we're all done on Sunday night, and he's had a 12-hour day, whatever it is, and is done watching games. Then he stays up and keeps watching games till like 3 or 4 in the morning on Game Pass. Then he wakes up and watches them all the next day while he's doing news. So he gets through all the games so he can feel confident and have his notes to make these rankings. It's a grind. I've been there.
Checklist.
I've done it all. I still go back and watch all the games too, but it's more intensive when you're doing the notes and the grading for the quarterback. So for this one, I just wanted to give you one riser, someone that you watched this week that you liked their performance this week that could be climbing the rankings.
So it was a weird week for quarterback play overall, because if you look at it from a surface level, you think, all right, well, like Jameis had a great week, right? And like maybe he'll be the riser, or maybe you'll go look at Caleb Williams' stat line and think that maybe that suggests that he had a great week and he should be a riser. But as we mentioned last night on the show, and the recap show, sometimes stat lines lie, and Caleb's stat line lied. So I'm going to go toward one that
Jameis's didn't lie that bad, because it just looked like total chaos, but a lot of good stuff and some chaos. Bad.
Yeah, and I would like to put him there, but I'm going to go back toward a favorite. It's going to be Dak Prescott.
Okay.
Because he threw an interception this game, but the way that he overcame the early challenges and managed to lead this team forward and make some big time throws. And yes, he has George Pickens, who is clearly his favorite receiver now. I just felt, the rushing touchdown, the somersault in the end zone, the significance of his performance in the second half was indicative of somebody who is owning his role, his responsibility within this offense. So he's going to be my strongest riser, I think, this week, although I'm still far from sorting out exactly. And sometimes that literally can come down to,
where was he last week in the rankings?
I got the order down. Where was he last time? Well, he climbed back into the top 10 after falling out after a couple of bad weeks, right? So folks are like, well, why is he in there? Because they look at team records and they look at stats and they're like, oh, he's not very good. The numbers could sometimes lie. Dak climbed all the way up to 6 last week. And the guy he's behind, Patrick Mahomes, the other guy he's behind, Baker Mayfield, could move more. I'm not saying he's going to, because the rankings are not finalized right now. That'll be something I do tomorrow. But he is a guy that I like as a riser this week. And the guy that's a faller, it's unfortunate, but we saw it tonight. It's Brock Purdy. We already talked about it, so I'm not going to go into it too deeply, but it just doesn't look good coming out of his hand right now. And it's not the decisions were terrible, but I have seen this too much from him over his career. And it is only his second game back from injury. But you could tell that they were trying to avoid putting it in his hands in big spots. And he did have some nice throws. He hit Kittle a couple times, right? Touchdown pass to Juwan Jennings, which was a nice catch, and then Jennings doing the rest of the work. For where I put Purdy in the rankings when he came back to the starting lineup, I think he's going to fall down.
Well, he has thrown 6 interceptions this year on throws over 15 yards and has 1 touchdown on those. Like, he has just not been an accurate quarterback down the field, which is where he's done a lot of great work.
His strength, yeah.
Right, over the last few years. And he hasn't been really 100% from the start of the season. People might have a hard time remembering what he looked like in those first 3 or 4 weeks. I think he had a good week 1, and then it just kind of
Jacksonville game was bad.
That wasn't good after that. So
yeah,
that makes sense. Look, everyone's a critic. I'm included.
Step up. Take the stand.
Dak Prescott should have been higher going into last week than he was.
He was.
He wasn't, though.
No.
He was. He was below Baker Mayfield?
Before 2 bad games. And this is all recency on your part. And I'll take you to task for just a minute.
It's not. And I know that he had their offense was uneven 3 out of 4 games, which I think got lost in the shuffle when people were talking about the best offense in the league, Dallas Cowboys. Actually, they went through a little bit of a slump there. But on balance, going into that stretch, I would have had him in my top 3. So to me, that was enough good work, and it wasn't that catastrophic afterwards that there's no way he would have been outside of my personal 7 or 8 at any point.
And I will admit that my rankings have been volatile from time to time this week, because it's just been a very strange year for quarterback play. There hasn't been a real cream of the crop outside of Drake May. Even Josh Allen's had his struggles. And I always favor Mahomes because I appreciate what he does as an improviser and a play extender and somebody that powers that offense. And he's had some rough weeks. Baker obviously is a streaky player who hasn't put together a good game in a while now. So it's been a weird group at the top. Dak was in 3rd in week 8. Okay.
Okay. There we go. That's what I'm saying.
He fell out of the top 10 after week 10. Actually, no.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
I just love in the comment here that the Unks are balling, Dak and Stafford. And we'll wrap with this. I do love that the old school way that Dak Prescott plays is so pleasing for me to watch. He really is as close to a Manning Brady type of quarterback as I think we have. He's not at that level, but he plays that type of football where I think he really understands the game. I think he manages the game. I think he calculates risk. I think he's great before the snap, and he plays from the pocket. And watching him, obviously Stafford is playing at another level even than Dak Prescott. He's playing at an MVP level. He's in a different situation where it's like the yin and the yang with him and McVay. And sometimes Stafford takes the wheel. Sometimes mostly McVay has the wheel. But Stafford is just such a brilliant player that it is an incredible marriage. But Dak to me is like, he's old school. He's Johnny U. Watching Jacoby Brissett this week, he's not doing as much, I think, in terms of making decisions, but he's just back there in the pocket throwing darts 50 times a game. That reminded me of like old Dan Marino or Drew Bledsoe. And I'm talking about like 36-year-old Dan Marino, not young Dan Marino. And he's just like, I kind of like watching that. You know what? I love the athletic, quarterbacks who are running around as much as anyone, maybe more, but I like having some variety. It's good to have this style of quarterback too. It's good to have a little bit of both.
I want to see hear your thoughts on my comp for Dak. I think he's a slightly more cerebral John Elway in the fact that he can extend the play and has the athleticism and the arm to get it done. It's going to take me a long time to forget that throw that he completed against the Packers where he's jumping into a throw and getting hit at the same time. And it goes all the way down inside the 5. Like, he makes some incredible plays. So that's why I put him more on the Elway than because Brady was never really mobile and Manning was never really mobile. Dak's mobile.
He's more athletic, certainly. Yeah. Elway was, hearing somewhere, wherever he is, like the total shots fired that you just said, basically a smarter Elway.
I think that Dak is dealing with more complex coverages than John Elway ever did. Not that John Elway wasn't cerebral, but
he's calling John Elway a system quarterback. Come after him.
I'm not at all.
I'm just joking. John Elway, one of the all-time great athletes. So I would take umbrage if I was John Elway with that comparison, just because he was a totally sick athlete. And I got to be real. When I'm talking about players from before my time, and I watched them growing up and stuff, and like when I was in high school and stuff, but I wasn't breaking it down. I don't know what he was like from the neck up, so I'm not going to make some sort of disparaging remark like Shook did.
Oh, here we go. No, come on. Dak's an athlete. Did we not just talk about the somersault touchdown?
He's an athlete, but he's not John Elway. John Elway was like a top 5 pick in the MLB draft.
I know that.
He's bowling over people. He was like a mix of like Ben Roethlisberger and Steve McNair or something, like a much more athletic. Like, he was so hard to take down, but he could run you over on the goal line.
Right now, I think that this is an unfair disparagement of Dak's athleticism.
John Elway was. I want to look up his rushing numbers. So what the heck? While we're here, and yes, we are wrapping up here. This man was a difference maker as a runner, but you know what? His rushing numbers not as good as I was hoping. So I'm not gonna point out.
Thank you.
You ever do that, by the way? You're like writing an article, or even you're doing a podcast and you have the time while someone else is talking to like look up stats, and you're like looking up for something good that you think is going to really support your point. And then it completely disproves your point, and then you just shut up. You don't ever mention it. You're just like, I'm still going to make my point, but I just won't bring that up.
Although I'll get you back here. Elway, in the late stages of his career, was operating the Shanahan offense, and we know how good the zone blocking scheme and what it did for running backs. So it's not like he had to run very much.
No, but I was shocked. I'm shocked because I think of him as a guy when he was younger that was out there getting it done. But usually it was more like
throw he made in the drive where he's rolling to his left and he just fires it. Dak makes throws like that. That's why I like that comparison.
Okay, it's a better one than I thought. He's putting up like 250 yards and like 4 rushing touchdowns a year. That's pretty Dak-like, actually. Final comment of the day from the great viewers watching us late on a Monday night. Elway was the GOAT before the GOAT. Appreciate y'all. Shooky, you are the primetime GOAT of this season.
With a big head.
This was Quarterback Keeper presented by Snapdragon. Learn more at snapdragon.com/laptops. Okay, that's it. Let's hit the music. Let's get out of here. We got a couple big shows to tape on Tuesday. I will be talking Thanksgiving games, like I said, Colleen Wolfe, Jordan Rodrigue, Steve Weish. We will also be previewing the Week 13 slate overall. That show is going to go up on Wednesday, but we're going to do it with a little twist. We're going to put a timer on it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Big week coming up at NFL Daily. Thanksgiving is here.